I was sitting in the doctor's office when he looked at my chart and said, "The prognosis is bad. You don't have long." My heart dropped and I nervously asked, "How long do I have?" He stared at me for a moment and calmly said, 10. Confused and panicking, I asked, 10 what? Years, months, days? That's when he looked at his watch and said, 9. Then he continued, 8, 7. I started sweating as he kept counting down like a bomb was about to explode. When he hit 6, I finally yelled, "Doctor, what are you doing?" He smiled and said, "Relax. I just needed you to calm down before I told you to start taking your medication." The judge looked straight at me and said, "Not guilty of car theft." I felt a wave of relief wash over me and honestly thought my luck had turned around. Without really thinking, I looked up at the judge and asked, "So, does that mean I get to keep the car?" The entire courtroom went silent for half a second. Then the judge sighed, the jury burst out laughing, and I realized I might have pushed my luck just a little too far. Turns out being not guilty doesn't automatically come with free vehicle ownership. So I talked to my New York lawyer and he goes, "Saul, I've got good news and bad news," I tell him. "Listen, I've had a horrible day, so give me the good news before I lose it." He says he met with my wife, and she invested $5,000 in 2 pictures that could be worth $15 to $20 million. I'm smiling, pacing around, thinking I married a financial genius. I tell him, "That's amazing, my wife is brilliant. You just saved my entire day." Then I say, "All right, hit me with the bad news. I can take it." He clears his throat and says, "The pictures are of you with your secretary." In that exact moment, my soul left my body. Turns out my wife didn't just invest in art, she invested in my downfall. I still remember this one day in class, when our teacher decided she was going to teach us proper manners. She looked straight at me and asked how I'd politely tell a lady on a dinner date that I needed to pee. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Just a minute. I have to go pee." And the whole class groaned while the teacher scolded me for being rude. Then she asked another kid, who gave a much nicer answer about excusing himself to the bathroom. But somehow that still wasn't good enough for her. Finally, she turned to little Johnny and challenged him to use his brain for once. Johnny stood up confidently and said, "Darling, may I be excused for a moment? I need to shake hands with a very dear friend. I hope to introduce to you after dinner." The class exploded with laughter. I remember the teacher's eyes going wide as she tried to process what he just said. The next thing we knew, she fainted right there in front of us. To this day, I still think Johnny deserved an award for creativity. I was at the office one afternoon and decided to call home to check on my wife. A little girl answered the phone, so I asked her where her mother was. She casually said, "She's upstairs with Uncle John," and my heart skipped because we don't have an uncle. John, trying to stay calm, I told her to go tell her mom that I was home. A few seconds later, the girl came back screaming that her mom was shocked, fell down the stairs and wasn't responding, and that Uncle John jumped out the window into the swimming pool. I completely lost it and started yelling that we don't even have a swimming pool. Then it hit me, so I asked what number she dialed. When she told me, I realized I had called the wrong house. I stood there staring at my phone, half relieved and half traumatized. Somewhere out there, a random family was having the worst afternoon of their lives, and it was all because of my wrong number.